Good evening, everyone. I'm Kevin Hodge. Tonight on your WZMQ 19 News, one of the two Democrats looking to unseat current state rep Carl Bonak drops out of the race. Plus, more on how health care funding for rural areas could be cut for the Upper Peninsula. And the mother of Today Show host Savannah Guthrie remains missing, with investigators saying she didn't leave her home on her own. We'll have the latest. Your 19 News at 11 starts now.
Live from the UP, this is WZMQ 19 News at 11.
Welcome in. A first look at your forecast. We had some limited sunshine for today and with cloudy skies overnight, which means we're not going to warm things up all that much for tomorrow. Lows tonight will be in the single digits and lower teens, keeping the skies cloudy into tomorrow. We'll get a few rays of sunshine and also some lingering snow showers, especially around the Munising area. And it's going to be slightly colder than average into the upper teens, but we are looking at some more seasonal temperatures later in the week, and I'll tell you about the next snow system in just a few minutes.
Very much. A Democrat has dropped out of the race for Michigan's 109th State House District. Marquette County Commissioner Dana Lalonde announced on Facebook that she's withdrawing from the race after what she called extensive consideration. In her post, Lalonde cited a lack of meaningful support from party structures and said building a sustainable grassroots campaign was not realistic. She also criticized what she described as a political system driven by fundraising and access to power rather than community service. Lalonde says she will continue serving as Marquette County Commissioner and encourages residents to stay engaged locally. With her withdrawal, Anna Rink will now be the sole Democratic candidate facing Republican incumbent Representative Carl Bonak in November. Michigan House Republicans are raising alarms over how the state plans to distribute federal rural health care funding. The state is set to hand out $173 million from a federal program meant to support rural communities with limited access to care. Republicans say the state health department's definition of partially rural would force UP counties to compete with Oakland, Wayne, and Macomb counties for health care funding. State health officials say they are following federal guidelines and that funding will be prioritized for areas with the greatest need.
Divorcing this from the source, one big beautiful bill, I don't care how you feel about that. At the end of the day, this is our state DHS department dropping the ball on the application for these funds and then again dropping the ball on how they're going to disperse the funds.
The state must distribute the money by the end of the year. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth visited Cape Canaveral, Florida today, where NASA is conducting a critical fueling test ahead of the historic Artemis II mission to the moon. The mission, scheduled for this month, will be NASA's first crewed flight of the Space Launch System rocket and Orion spacecraft. Teams are in the middle of a wet dress rehearsal. They're powering up the core stage to load hundreds of thousands of gallons of cryogenic fuel. Today, Hegseth met with Blue Origin founder Jeff Bezos, whose company is pausing space tourism flights to focus on building NASA's next-generation lunar lander.
Look at the thousands of square feet that make up this production site, where you produce the next generation of launch vehicles and spacecraft, like the New Shepard launch vehicle and the Blue Moon lander.
Secretary Hegseth, you've said that national security depends on the speed and capacity of America's industrial base. We agree. Blue Origin is committed to supporting national security to, through, and from space. The systems we're building today provide the asymmetrical advantages that America needs to lead.
The so-called wet dress rehearsal countdown for Artemis II continues as teams configure the launch system and spacecraft with gaseous nitrogen. That's a key step in reducing fire hazards, protecting spacecraft systems, and ensuring mission safety. President Trump urged House members on both sides of the aisle today to pass the Senate-approved funding package as soon as possible in order to end the partial government shutdown that began this weekend. Erica Brown has the latest from Capitol Hill, where some Democratic lawmakers are urging their colleagues to vote no until there are changes to immigration enforcement practices.
This process should have been over and done with by now.
The House Rules Committee took up the funding deal Monday that the Senate passed on Friday as President Trump urged an end to the partial government shutdown.
I will say that I spoke with Senator Schumer numerous times, and I don't think they want to see a shutdown either.
The Senate bill separates out the Department of Homeland Security and provides just 2 weeks of funding so lawmakers can negotiate reforms to ICE in the wake of the deadly shootings by federal agents in Minneapolis last month. Some Democratic lawmakers in the House have signaled they will vote against the funding package, demanding real changes before ICE and Customs and Border Protection receive more funding.
I refuse to fund such a lawless, out-of-control agency. I will not vote for business as usual.
Democrats are calling for an end to roving patrols of ICE agents, tighter warrant rules, body cameras for all agents, and a ban on face coverings.
Taxpayer dollars should not be spent to brutalize and kill American citizens.
Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem announced Monday that the department is deploying body cameras to every officer in the field in Minneapolis, effective immediately.
Noem added that the program will be expanded nationwide as funding becomes available. In Arizona, the search continues for Nancy Guthrie, the mother of Today Show host Savannah Guthrie. She was reported missing on Sunday. Authorities say the 84-year-old did not walk out of her home on her own. Gwen Baumgartner has more.
That we do, in fact, have a crime.
Authorities say Nancy Guthrie, the 84-year-old mother of Today Show anchor Savannah Guthrie, was last seen at her Arizona home Saturday night around 9:45 after eating dinner with Savannah's older sister. By midday Sunday, she was reported missing. Friends grew concerned when she failed to show up for church. In an interview with CBS News, Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos says Nancy did not leave her house on her own.
An 84-year-old lady who, in the middle of the night, while she's asleep, is taken from her home. That should never happen. That's not who we are.
Taken. So is this an abduction or a kidnapping?
We don't know that yet.
But it's not Nancy Guthrie walking off on her own.
That we believe 100% right now. She could not have walked away from that home.
According to authorities, Nancy is cognitively strong but has physical difficulties.
She is very limited in her mobility, right? We know she didn't just walk out of there.
A homicide team is on the case, and CBS News has learned the FBI is also assisting. Investigators are going over security camera footage and asking neighbors to look through their own home surveillance video.
There were circumstances on scene that we believe are suspicious in nature, I think is the best way to put it.
Savannah Guthrie was scheduled to depart for Italy this week to co-host the opening ceremony of the Winter Olympics. She flew to Arizona to be with her family.
How is the Guthrie family doing? I know you've been in contact with them.
They're pretty devastated. They just want their mom home.
In a statement, Guthrie thanked well-wishers for messages of support and said her family's focus now is on finding our dear mom.
Savannah Guthrie's security team is with her in Arizona, and authorities say they are working with Arizona officials as all parties work to locate Nancy Guthrie. Authorities say it is critical they find Nancy soon as she's on medication that needs to be taken daily. Kelly Rowland has your first warning weather forecast when we come back, plus Groundhog Day, and we're now expecting 6 more weeks of winter. And authorities are now advising against walking or skating near Lower Harbor in Marquette after one person fell through. We'll be right back.
Now, WZMQ TV 19 First Warning Weather with meteorologist Kelly Rowland.
And welcome back. We are going to see apparently 6 more weeks of winter. This is from Punxsutawney Phil, now 109 times that he saw his shadow today. He definitely does favor that. The accuracy is about 35 to 40%, human accuracy around 80 to 90%. But just remember, he's predicting 6 weeks, and we keep it at a 7 to maybe 10-day forecast. So I'll respect him in that. He's going brave with it and just saying 6 more weeks of winter. But regardless of what he thinks, I know it's all good fun. I definitely agree with him for this week, and maybe even for 2 or 3. We're not really looking at any signs of a major warm-up or an early spring, so maybe he has it right to a T this year. Today, nice and seasonal, 21 degrees for the high, and the average is 22, just shy of 2 inches of snow. That's a pretty typical winter day, especially even into early February. This is just something cool that I wanted to show you that maybe you've seen, maybe you haven't. It's maybe a little bit tough, but if you see ice crystals that almost look like they're growing upwards, that happens when it basically goes from a solid to a gas, which means we can have ice crystals that form in a split second and they grow upward, and it's called fern frost or ice flowers. It's just something cool. It typically happens on a car window or a window pane anytime you get those the really cold air masses on a warm-ish surface. So maybe if the car has been running, it's just something that happens where snow can essentially go from a solid to a gas or water vapor in the in a very split second. So there you go, a little fun fact, if not anything, something to take away to the dinner table tomorrow for a fun fact. But here's your first warning weather futurecast. I'm just advancing for you, and really not much is happening. There is some lingering snow into the Munising area, so we might see a couple extra inches of accumulation going that way, at least for the next 24 hours. So it just depends on where you are and where that band wants to set up. So the Lance and Munising area and up to Eagle Harbor, you're more likely to see about that inch to maybe an inch and a half, but everywhere else probably a quarter of an inch or less for snow. So that's barely a dusting. It's not so much the snow that we're worried about for this week. You know, in the wintertime we like to talk about the snow and the cold. Sometimes they just double down and they can both be pretty impactful, but it's going to be the cold again. We're looking at another cold surge for the weekend. This is a look at the jet stream that's going to bring us some very cold air for Friday. So as you have any plans, maybe you're getting ready for I don't know, you think an early spring's gonna happen, you want to try to do something outside. Again, a nice thing you can do is take advantage of the activities that you can do on the ice, but just remember, no ice is safe ice. You got to check the thickness, and there's minimal coverage of that lake, and you just got to check and be safe for you. But we're cold for tomorrow. We slightly warm things up for the rest of the week, but then that cold surge is on the way, following some scattered snow showers for Thursday and Friday. We'll be down to the teens for Saturday, and then rebound fairly quickly back to the mid-20s for your Sunday.
Kelly, thank you very much. Celebrating Groundhog Day with Punxsutawney Phil is an event steeped in American history. Folklore claims that the groundhog sees his shadow will have 6 more weeks of winter. But in Washington, D.C., they have their own version of Groundhog Day. Our Washington, D.C. correspondent Rachel Knapp has more.
For nearly 140 years in central Pennsylvania, Punxsutawney Phil emerges from his burrow to predict an early spring or brace for more weeks of winter.
There is a shadow here on my ground. 6 more weeks of winter abound.
Phil's annual Groundhog Day predictions have exploded in popularity, with some events in other parts of the nation taking part in the tradition. Here in Washington, D.C., they're celebrating their own Groundhog Day event, but with Potomac Phil.
Potomac Phil has been with us for the last 15 years in DuPont Circle.
I wanted to come out here, wear a top hat. They gave me a sign. I'm excited to see Phil's prediction. I think he's the greater of the 2 groundhogs, if I'm being honest.
Compared to Punxsutawney Phil, there are some noticeable differences with Potomac Phil.
Well, have you seen his expression? I mean, he's got an incredible look on his face. He's holding a corn cob. I really trust his predictions, and I think that he's not gonna lead us astray.
Potomac Phil is different in many ways, primarily because he is an unflinching prognosticator that is in his forever pose. But yes, he does give a political prediction, which is different than any other manifestation across the United States.
And Potomac Phil's weather and political prediction was unwelcomed news.
Potomac Phil saw his shadow. So, 6 more weeks of winter and 6 more months of political gridlock.
Residents say the event is a way to have fun in D.C.
It is nice to have a little break from things going on in the world to just celebrate each other and have a good time at the circle.
In Washington, D.C.
In Phil we trust.
Rachel Knapp, WZMQ 19 News.
The recent cold snap with sub-zero temperatures allowed the entire surface of Marquette's lower harbor to freeze over. Although it looks tempting, authorities are advising the public to stay off the ice. Our own John Truitt explains why.
The bitter cold temperatures, along with little wind and calm seas, caused the ice to become as smooth as a skating rink. These rare conditions drew dozens of people to the area around the lower harbor ore dock. However, after reports of a person falling through the ice this morning, the Marquette Fire Department issued a warning for all persons to stay off the ice.
When it comes to the ice, especially on Lake Superior, we recommend just not going on it at all. We know people want to, people do it anyways, but because of how unpredictable the currents under the ice are and the tides changing, we just recommend not doing it at all.
What makes ice on Lake Superior so dangerous is its unpredictability. Deep under the ice, Lake Superior is constantly moving.
Everything changes out on Lake Superior all the time. It can be a day, there can be an open harbor, the next day it'll be frozen over, and the day later it'll be open again. You just really never know.
If you're one of the unfortunates who fall through the ice, Morton says to do this to get yourself out.
Best way to do it is to get your arms up on the ice, start kind of pulling yourself up, but also kicking your legs at the same time, and that'll help you get up on the ice, and once you're up, kind of just roll away from whatever hole you may have created.
Although no citations have been handed out yet, the law allows for heavy fines if you need to be rescued. And the person who fell through the ice today was able to get themselves out of the water and off the ice safely. A little wiser, a lot colder, and certainly lucky. In Marquette, John Truitt, WZMQ 19 News.
Still to come on your 19 News, we'll see the two new exhibits on display at the Beaumere UP Heritage Center. We're back in 2 minutes.
You're watching WZMQ 19 News, live and local, with Kevin Hodge.
Welcome back, everyone. Along with renovations at NMU's Hardin Hall comes the relocation of the Beaumere Center. WZMQ's Andrew Hans has the details on the new space and what students and the public can experience.
Inside the newly shaped Hardin Hall in Lydia Olson Library, the new home to the Upper Peninsula Beaumere Heritage Center can now be found. Director Dan Truckee explains that the relocation not only brings together the students' resources, but also provides a more centralized space.
This is just a great location for us because for two reasons. One is that we're now right next to the NMU archives. This has been a long-held dream of ours to be connected to each other. The second reason is that you can see there's students everywhere around here, and having higher visibility with the student body is going to be really important for us.
After a grand opening over the weekend, 2 new exhibits are on display. This includes a year-round exhibit featuring information and physical pieces of history detailing the early years of the university. The other temporary exhibit currently focuses on the dialogue and partnership of George Shiras III and Theodore Roosevelt, dubbed the Conservationists. The piece covers the duo's journey to pass the Migratory Bird Act, as Shiras held property in Alger County and Marquette with a strong connection to the UP's wildlife. The exhibit features material from the NMU archives, combining the two centers in this first display.
His work is really integral to the culture and history of the area, so it's an important story to keep telling. We wanted to do an exhibit that featured both something from the archives and put it into the Beaumere Center as our first exhibit. And so we chose it because it's a really cool collection and there's some really neat letters and other materials on display.
The new Beaumere Center will be open on weekdays from noon until 5 and Saturdays from noon until 4. The Conservationists exhibit will be free and available to the public until May 2nd. Reporting in Marquette, Andrew Hands, WZMQ 19 News.
Forget bumpers and brake lights. The next evolution of ride-hailing may happen overhead. New electric air taxis are being tested as a faster way to move through busy cities. Evan Moon shows us what the future could look like with highways in the sky.
To beat the traffic, a new kind of taxi is preparing for takeoff. UK-based Vertical Aerospace is looking to make air travel easy with all-electric helicopters designed for short city trips.
You have to think about highways in the sky. Like if we go back 30, 40 years, we had the Jetsons, right? 10 years ago, people thought this was science fiction.
Capable of flying 150 miles per hour for 100 miles, CEO Domhnall Slattery tells us by 2028, Vertical will have dozens of its Velo aircraft in major U.S. cities.
The barrier with helicopters has been it's too noisy and it's too expensive. Here, 100 times quieter than a helicopter at a price point the regular person can afford.
Vertical's goal is to make air travel practical, not exclusive. Slattery compared the price for one seat to an Uber Black.
Manhattan to JFK, somewhere around $150 per seat.
They're betting big on airport commuters, like promising flights from downtown Manhattan to JFK in just a few minutes. And with plenty of space for your luggage, 6 checked bags and 6 carry-ons.
New Yorkers checking out a Velo model see the potential.
To see the concept of a flying car come to life in Manhattan and kind of like alleviate some of that difficulty just getting around the city is like awesome. And as a New Yorker, something I'm very excited about.
A vision of the near future that could look a lot like the Jetsons.
It lands on the roof of your office building, you get in the elevator, you pop in, and it takes you home. It literally will be as ubiquitous as that.
Just around the corner, a commute above the clouds.
Stars gathered for the Grammy Awards Sunday, marking music's biggest night with memorable performances and awards that made history. Bradley Blackburn has a recap.
Magic and music were in the air at the Grammys, with performers from Lady Gaga to Bruno Mars. Billie Eilish won Song of the Year for Wildflower. Olivia Dean took home Best New Artist. And Kendrick Lamar, now the most winning rapper in Grammy history, received Record of the Year alongside SZA.
This is what music is about.
Another big winner, Bad Bunny, who made history with the first Spanish language album to win Album of the Year.
I want to dedicate this award to all the people that had to leave their homeland, their country, to follow their dreams.
He was one of several stars who spoke out about immigration enforcement.
I'm going to say Eyes Out.
Some wearing pins saying Ice Out.
I would be remiss if I didn't say something about what's happening in the actual world.
The late Ozzy Osbourne was honored with an all-star tribute led by Post Malone, while Lauryn Hill returned to the Grammy stage for the first time in more than a quarter century to honor Roberta Flack. Trevor Noah was back hosting for a sixth and final time, and he presented Cher with a Lifetime Achievement Award.
Never give up on your dream, no matter what happens.
Dreams realized for so many artists on music's biggest night.
Director Steven Spielberg was also a big winner last night, receiving a Grammy for producing a documentary about his longtime collaborator, composer John Williams. That makes Spielberg an EGOT winner who has won Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, and Tony Awards. We're taking a trip down memory lane with some of the most memorable Super Bowl commercials, and Kevin James gets a second chance at love in his upcoming film. Gwen Baumgartner has more of tonight's entertainment headlines.
Remember this?
Big Mac, fries. Play you for it.
What about this?
Puppy monkey baby.
With the big game less than 1 week away, tonight CBS is looking back at some of TV's greatest Super Bowl commercials.
We're bringing you our 25th, that's right, our 25th quarter century annual special. Yay!
And what better way to honor this incredible milestone than with the Hall of Fame countdown?
Nate Burleson and Daniela Rua host the interactive special showcasing our favorite TV moments while offering a behind-the-scenes look at some of this year's commercials. The Super Bowl Greatest Commercials Hall of Fame Countdown airs tonight on CBS and streams on Paramount+. Beatlemania returns with a look at the first photos from the upcoming Beatles biopics. Director Sam Mendes is creating 4 films, one from the perspective of each member of the Fab Four. The movies will premiere in April of 2028 in something Mendes hopes will become, quote, the first bingeable theatrical experience. Actor Kevin James is back on the big screen in the upcoming rom-com Solo Mio. James portrays a groom that gets left at the altar.
Look, I think we both know things didn't go too well today.
Despite the heartbreak, he honeymoons alone in Italy, making some memories along the way, learning some life lessons too.
The answer is never, well, that's it, I'm done. You know, to keep trying. And we say it in the movie, you have to try. Ci devi provare. And that's really what I'd love audiences to take away.
Solo Mio heads to theaters this Friday.
Now don't go away. When we come back, Kelly Rowland has our final look at weather. Stay tuned.
And a final check of your forecast. If we look at meteorological winter, which is December through February, we are almost through the depths of winter, and things are going to slowly but surely get a little bit warmer as in terms of those seasonal conditions. We won't quite get there for tomorrow. We'll round off into the upper teens, maybe lower 20s if you get that sunshine down to the Iron Mountain and Menominee areas. But the feels like temperature is not going to be terrible tomorrow, still sub-zero for a lot of us, and then we do change that for your Wednesday morning. Will at least be above zero, but still keep that in mind. It's still cold this week, especially for tomorrow, and then it's a little more seasonal, a little more comfortable for the rest of the week. The snow stays to a minimum, though, for the next 48 hours. The next snow system that I'm watching would be for Thursday and Friday. That's our next best chance of some snow. Still probably going to be light to moderate accumulation for that. It'll be scattered, and then when we look at the weekend following that snow is some cold. We'll keep it cold and cloudy for Saturday, and then back to seasonal for the second half of the weekend.
All right, Kelly, thank you again. Dogs of all sizes, breeds, and coats, fluffy, sleek, curly, and wiry, have descended on New York City for the 150th Westminster Kennel Club Dog Show, which kicked off on Saturday. This year, more than 2,500 dogs are competing, representing over 200 breeds from around the world. Today, groomers, handlers, and owners were making last-minute preparations behind the scenes, getting their furry friends ready for competition. Blow dryers hummed as coats were fluffed and smoothed. Combs, brushes, and sprays came out as dogs waited patiently on grooming tables, unfazed by the bustle around them. That is all the time we have for right now, everyone. We'll have more headlines coming your way tomorrow at 6/5 Central. We'll see you then.
Lilly Broadcasting stands with the people of Iran.